We are full of concepts and we think we're living, but we're really conceptualizing.
Sea change when you go from being in your mind to being in your heart.
And the Course of Love was about discovering our true identity.
Hello and welcome to our show, Heart to Heart, How A Course of Love Changed My Life. I'm Rodrigo Cayres, and I will be your host today, as our well-loved regular host is going to be our guest. Joining us from Washington, D.C., we welcome you, Lynn Kidd. Thank you very much for taking your time, for being here with us.
Yes, thank you, Rodrigo. It's an honor to be here and actually to be a guest.
So let's start with a brief introduction to your personal journey. Would like to share with us a little bit of your personal journey that led you to discovering A Course of Love?
Okay, I would love to do that. So originally, I was born in South Louisiana in a little town right outside of the New Orleans area. And I was raised in a very conservative Catholic family. So I grew up in the Catholic religion. And eventually, you know, I broke away from that and sort of rebelled against the Catholic Church and all forms of religion. And then went into college and studied pre-law for a while, and then decided I didn't want to do that. So then I went to nursing school. I've been working as a nurse now for 27 years in cancer nursing, which is oncology, hematology, and also bone marrow transplant. And I just retired from my job last November 2019 from where I was working here in DC, actually Bethesda, Maryland, which is a suburb of DC, at the National Institutes of Health. And so I have not started back to work yet. I do still have an active nursing license, but I'm just taking it one day at a time right now. So yeah, so throughout my nursing career, I eventually came upon a course in miracles. That was back in the 90s, sort of late 90s, with Marianne Williamson, middle to late 90s, through her book, A Return to Love. And that really spoke to me. And then I bought A Course in Miracles, and I sort of, you know, went in and out and did it, and then really got serious for a while. And that really sort of just really opened me up. And it was one of the most, I guess I would say it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever read in my whole life. And I just still love A Course in Miracles. So fast forward to 2017, I had met another friend of whom many of you probably know out there, Chris Fine. We had met in a Course in Miracles group on Facebook and had become good friends with Chris. And she had discovered A Course of Love somewhere in the beginning of 2017 through a friend. And then in spring of that year, 2017, she and I were talking. She hadn't told me that she had started reading it. And then we were talking one day, and she brought it up, and she said, "Oh yeah, I think you're really ready for this. You should check it out." And so I was skeptical about it because I'd heard a lot of criticism in the Course of Love, the Course in Miracles community. And I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll buy it. I'll explore it. If I don't like it, I'll give it away. And so I started reading it around May 2017. And then in July of 2017, the Discovering A Course of Love group was formed at that time. And it was originally called the Readers Group. It's had 2 or 3 names since then. And so I immediately was put in that group by Chris in July 2017, and just continued to read the Course of Love and started dialoguing and having a lot of conversations in both the groups and the companion group. I eventually joined that. That's pretty much how I discovered it, and I got very involved in the community because it really touched my heart and just started, you know, expanding and expanding.
As you mentioned that you were initially skeptical about A Course of Love after hearing some criticisms from some people within A Course in Miracles community, what would you say to them today after having read and having integrated A Course of Love into your life?
Yeah, there's still actually a lot of criticism, and I had a lot of pushback from it for a while. But again, it's not a book to be studied. It's very clear in A Course of Love that this is a book that bypasses the mind and it enters the heart. So we receive the Course of Love at the feeling level, and we let the words enter us. And as Laurel said in her video, Heart to Heart, this is an energy transmission. It's not a book to be studied with concepts. We're actually receiving an energy transmission, the Christ energy, the energy of love. And that is the whole journey with it for me, is to be able to drop from that conceptual thinking mind and into the heart. And you can't make anybody read it. You either drawn to it or not. It either resonates or not. And so the thinking mind, there's actually a line somewhere in A Course of Love that says that the thinking mind, the analytical mind, is never going to understand any of this. It's fruitless to even do battle and try to convince anybody. If you're able to drop into something deeper, into that heart space, and where the mind and the heart are joined, and make that journey into wholeheartedness, it's worth, dipping into.
I see, and I fully agree with you. It is an energy transmission. It is a sort of a relationship that we establish with the source of A Course of Love. And this relationship is going to transform you by gradually softening the ground of your heart, so to speak, and working a transformation there, a transformation that cannot be put in words by the thinking mind.
Exactly.
But it is felt. What has been the most important spiritual encounter you've had in your life?
I don't know if it's a person, actually. I would say, some of the most important spiritual experiences I've had when I actually have dropped out of the thinking mind and actually gone into that holy instant where it's a timeless moment, and there's no worries. There's no disappointments of yesterday, as the Course of Love say. Can you let the disappointments of yesterday go? Can you let the worries of today leave your mind? Can you let the planning of the future cease? And I've been in these moments where I've dropped so deep into the wholeheartedness where time stops, and it's just like a pure holy instant. And there's no past, there's no future, there's no worries. It's just like a flood of grace. And I've actually done that out hiking in nature, which I love to do. I love to go hiking. Yeah. And usually I don't go by myself. It's usually with a friend or two that I'm hiking with that those experiences happen. So I will say it's with mighty companions who hike with me in nature. And that's where I really feel a lot of holiness and a lot of connectedness.
Great. Yeah, very interesting. So you had a long journey with A Course in Miracles, and as I understood, you were also a facilitator of A Course in Miracles group, and in 2017 you moved into A Course of Love. So let us get now into the book itself. Would you like to share with us some passage or perhaps a powerful line that has spoken to you and has been a catalyst in your transformation?
I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, and it's from the third treatise, chapter 3, The True Self, capital S. This is really speaking to me. You have not yet realized how much you still consider unlovable about yourself. This does not mean that you are not lovable, not only that you have not fully recognized your true self, capital S, the divine self. Until you fully recognize yourself, you cannot fully love yourself. Until you fully love, you do not love in truth. Both God and love are found in relationship, where the truth becomes known to you. When the truth becomes known to you, you know God, for you know love. Beliefs, and especially the changed beliefs we have worked together to integrate into your thought system, are only a first step, a step toward holy relationship. These new beliefs of your new thought system must be wholehearted. They cannot be beliefs that only exist in the mind. A new philosophy to be applied to life. They must exist in your heart. And how can they exist in your heart of an unlovable self? And then one more sentence, and then I'm going to say a few words. You cannot think your way to the new life that calls to you. You can only get there by being who you are in truth. So yeah, that is such a beautiful passage. And, you know, the whole message of this for me is to be able to get in touch with the truth of who we are and to love ourselves. And this for me is not talking about the personality self, a separate self, an ego self. It's talking about the overwhelming and beautiful heart, spacious love that resides within us, the divine love within us. And to be able to get in touch with that, that's where our freedom lies. And when we're not in touch with that, we, you know, and we feel bad about ourselves and we're not worthy, we feel unloved. You know, it just gets projected out onto others in all situations in life, in politics and, you know, in religion and friendships, relationships. But because when I'm in love with myself, and again, this is not like a narcissistic thing. This is a being in touch with the divine love within us. And from there, all else follows. So that's why this speaks so true to me, because I know for a long time I felt unworthy and unloved and like I'm not enough. And the more I would dwell in that space, you know, the more miserable I would become. And I would just want to project that out onto others and then blame my feelings and, you know, how I felt on everyone else. So I feel like this is like a deep calling to know our own lovable self, our own true innocence, and the beauty and truth of who we are. And this is the whole, you know, prodigal son and prodigal daughter story, is where we've gone through these journeys, you know, out into all this separation consciousness, and now we're returning home to the true self. And I think that the only way we can really have an authentic and true relationship with others is to start first and have an honest and true relationship with ourselves. And that to me is fun in that innocence and love within ourselves, because we are loving, we are lovable, and we are loved. And that's the message in this. And as long as we don't love ourselves, it's going to be hard to love anyone. One of the ways to do that, as we were talking earlier, Rodrigo, is to be able to develop and cultivate a relationship with all of our experiences. We don't have to deny any of it. The embrace encompasses everything. And so all the feelings that arise, we don't have to label anything bad or good. We don't have to make any experience wrong. We can embrace all of it and allow all the feelings to arise and have a relationship with all of that. And, you know, to me, that's part of wholeness. It's becoming whole, because we're not rejecting any part of ourselves. You know, there's a line that I wanted to mention that I really love, that I came upon recently. There's a Benedictine nun or sister, and her name is Macrima Whitaker. And she has this beautiful prayer, and it says, "Dear God, help me see the truth of who I am, no matter how beautiful that is."
Ah,
I just love that. Help me see the truth of who I am, no matter how. And that's like no matter how beautiful it is, that's an embrace of our own innocence. That's not to say we condone behavior and that people aren't responsible for their actions, but there are no bad people. You know, people do horrific things, yeah, because it's just projection. You know, it's coming from an unlovable self. I will share like a quick personal experience in my whole nursing career of 27 years. The thing that I found out more than anything, that what any patient, no matter what their diagnosis was or what they were going through emotionally and physically, the one thing without exception that they wanted was to feel loved. That's it. They wanted to know that they were loved, and they wanted to feel loved. And that's the healing right there. If I can hold that space and be the Christ self, the presence of love, and be able to extend that, and somehow through the giving and receiving and having that relationship, if they can just feel for one instant that they are loved, that's the grace of the moment. And that's the true healing, regardless of the form of which it takes.
and I like it that in the passages that you read, it always starts from us. Unless and until we love ourselves unconditionally, we won't be able to extend this love outwardly.
And I love too, I'd heard the British psychologist Robert Holden said, no amount of self-improvement can ever make up for the lack of self-acceptance. It will never work. No amount, because there's really nothing to improve. All we're doing is letting the blocks dissolve, and the love is there. It's already there within us.
Striving to create ourselves, when in fact, who we are was given us. We were created. All we need to do is to remember
Accept it.
and accept who we already are in truth, and that we have forgotten. Yeah.
Yes, we have forgotten.
Yeah. Thank you for all that, Lynn. I really appreciate what you have shared, your insights and your personal experiences, including the experience you've reported about caring for patients as a nurse.
Yeah.
So to close this heart-to-heart conversation with you, would you like to suggest or perhaps say something to someone new to A Course of Love, something that might be helpful as they come to the course?
Yeah, I think for me, again, as I mentioned briefly, just to not try to figure it out with your thinking mind, and as the learning in the time of Christ says, let the words enter you. And then the other thing, which has been hugely transformation, of course, is to find a group. As we have the groups tab on acourseoflove.org. There are a lot. I think there's 23 Zoom groups on there now. It doesn't have to be a Zoom group. It could be an in-person group, or it could just be some friends. But find a group, a few friends, mighty companions, whatever, kindred spirits, whatever you want to call it, to be able to share and dialogue with. That has been like one of the most transformational experiences for me in doing A Course of Love, is to be able to have this space to join together with others in dialogue and relationship, in union and relationship, and to be able to share our hearts, and have an open space, non-judgmental, compassionate space for each other, and to come together. And I think that is where two or more are gathered. That's what the Course of Love and the Bible and many other spiritual texts say, where two or more are gathered. There's an energy, there's a synergy there. There's an actual, I would say, resonance or group energy that allows for a transformation to occur. There's an alchemy that occurs, some kind of transformation.
It has been my experience too. Thank you for sharing that, Lynn. And it has been a great honor to have you here as a guest today.
Yeah, thank you, Rodrigo, for holding the space for me. And thank you for sharing and dialoguing with me.